the God, I play my dreams. Permaculture flows like sweet streams. I'm the daddy with the know-how seed. Creating the world like it's meant to be. Permaculture, P-I-M-P, I'm the king. That's the love in everything. Bringing change, making it last. Join the permaculture.
Welcome to episode 389 of the Permaculture Pimpcast, where PIMP stands for Permaculture is my passion. The only Pimpcast on planet Earth where we discuss permaculture, preparedness, practical living, and sometimes prostitutes.
Permaculture, P-I-M-P, with soulful rays. In a P-I-Pimpcast where we find out
What a jam! And what a good night to be here with all of y'all. This episode, as always, brought to you by Hickory Ridge Soap from TwoOldCrowsHomestead.com.
Turn that simp into a pimp.
Bam! All right, got a new one for you today, y'all. And I think Michelle put it in the comments. See, Denise is in the house from Renewed Homestead. Make sure you go over there, check them out, subscribe. And a lot of other people in the house. Let me go ahead and push this thing up to the top right quick. Want to thank everybody here for being with us. Hit that thumbs up if you would. Tell everybody we're live so they can go ahead and start suppressing us like they did my short yesterday. I'll get into that in a minute. That's funny. Anyway, we got a new sponsor. It's Azure, A-Z-U-R-E Standard. And check this out, y'all. They got a deal and a half. I'm going to have to read because I had to write this one down. Okay. So Food for Health 15 will get you 15% off for any order over $100. Now that only applies for the new customers that are out there. So, yeah, you can see it. Son, maybe we can put that up on the screen.
I got it.
Okay. Yeah. So it'll be up on the screen. So Food for Health 15.
Real quick. So in the promo code that's on the screen, it says Food for Health 15. There's supposed to be a space between the two 15s for 15% off. So it's the promo code itself is Food for Health 15. And then the second 15 that you're seeing is telling you what percentage you get off for new customers. Minimum order $100.
Yeah, boy, I'm telling you what, of all the people out there to work with, man, this is right at the top of my list, y'all. You know the deal, permaculture, preparedness, practical living. Look, I'm going to encourage everybody out there, if you possibly can, grow every single thing you can. But all of us can't do that. And most of you don't live in a place where I do, where there's an immense food culture that's surrounding you, where no matter what time of year you can find what it is you need. Well, for a lot of folks, I mean, son, you are a classic example of living in a food desert. Yep. I mean, there is nothing around you, not even unless you go to Dallas, which is 2 hours away. There is nothing near you. The grocery store, I mean, all of it. In fact, the one place, I don't recall what it was, I would say 60 to 70% of the produce in that place is rotten.
Well, okay, so
smell it.
Yeah, so that's the local grocery store. For me, I have to drive a minimum of about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the time of day it is, to go get what I would consider like clean food. Not necessarily just healthy, but stuff that isn't ridden with a bunch of toxins and chemicals. That's that's called the granary in Texarkana. Like that's how far away I have to drive just to get stuff that isn't like completely contaminated. Or I can have it delivered to the town I live in using Azure Standard. Like it's fantastic.
Now that's the cool thing. Well, it's fantastic in more ways than one, in that you show up out there, and then I'm sure it's not going to be like the drop we go to where all the women unload the truck. Son, if I hadn't seen it with my own two eyes, I wouldn't have believed it. Yeah. All the women, except for myself, were up there unloading the truck, and all the men were sitting back there like, I didn't know. I thought I was in an alternate universe. I couldn't even believe what I was seeing. Now, I'm sure that's not typically the case, but here's the cool thing about it, y'all. You can get food that is absolutely clean. I know the CEO, we're fast becoming homeboys. David is going to be on this show in the future. He is the CEO, and I'm probably going to be doing some collaborative videos out there at his place out in Oregon when the weather turns nicer, so it makes better sense. But anyway, and there's a bigger collaboration than that's going on behind the scenes as well. I won't get into all of that right now, but folks, man, when they're dropping a deal like this, because like William said, I can sit here, waste my gas and go out here, or I can plan ahead a little bit, get all the clean food. Folks, if you only knew how they go through, I mean, they flip over every table and test all this stuff to make sure it is exactly what they say it is. And we use it. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of things that we put away, like by and large, everything I'm eating right now, we've grown. Okay. I mean, pretty much. I mean, I'm eating meat and I'm eating vegetables that we fermented this time of year. And then, notwithstanding what I just said a little bit ago, I mean, we had friends over yesterday, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I mean, by and large, I'd say 90% of the time I'm eating the stuff that we produce right here, but that's not going to be the case for everybody. And that's where Azure comes in. So, man,
And Azure is awesome. Oh, sorry, Dad. Go ahead.
well, to get them on board is a massive, massive blessing to everybody out there. And when they're willing to drop a deal like this, 15% off for all new customers, minimum order over $100. I mean, I don't know why anybody would order less than $100, honestly, from Azure.
I mean, Azure is especially if you're into preparedness as well and you want to put back good,
Right.
clean food. Like Azure is where you go to get some good, clean bulk food that is going to get delivered to your town. Like I haven't really met anybody, because a lot of the people I do consultations for all use Azure Standard, and I haven't really met anybody who hasn't had access to. I mean, if they're dropping off in DeKalb, Texas, you probably got a drop off point not far from you.
Well, they're in all 50 states. And that's the cool thing about Azure, in that, I mean, folks, of all the people out there to work with, now I'm going to have to redo some videos, I'm realizing, because like William said, back when we did the videos, I didn't even know about Azure. Back when we did the videos about how do you feed yourself, I think the video, how do you feed yourself for 72 days, I think, on $100. I'm going to have to redo that video because honestly, I'm not going to encourage. Think about this, folks. You can go there, you can go to Sam's Club and you can go ahead and buy a 50-pound bag of rice. I don't know what it's going for now, but for a while there, I saw it literally go from $16 a bag up to 26. I don't know where it is right now. Maybe we'll call it, maybe it's 30 up to now. I don't know. But you can go ahead and buy that rice, which is going to be fortified, which means it has a lot of junk in it that you don't want. Now, my thinking back then was thinking, okay, well, if we're in a collapse scenario and you got to eat something, okay, beans and rice, man, nobody's going to care where it came from. But if there was ever a time that you should be making sure you're putting back the most top quality stuff, it's at that time. So that's exactly why I'm going to have to redo that video, and I'm going to do it with Azure stuff. And let me tell you one other thing that you're going to find out at an Azure drop. All of you folks in this audience, you know, I thought about this before I was doing the show, and folks, I'm here to tell you, if you're wondering who your tribe is, if you're wondering who you're going to possibly resonate with, and you're surrounded by a bunch of people that think you're a nut because you're listening to the Permaculture Pimp Daddy and the Pastor Raised Pimp right now, or you're in that place where everybody thinks you're nuts, I promise you, you're going to find something at an Azure drop. I guarantee if you don't have any friends, you will, you know, after a couple of Azure drops, because there's a little bit of time you're waiting on the truck to get there. You generally know when it's going to get there. But I'm telling you what, man, I've met some really awesome people here, people that I resonate with, certainly not the ones who aren't helping unload the truck, but some other folks that I've met along the way. So if you're looking to find your tribe, man, I'm dead serious. I probably ought to do a video. Just go to an Azure drop and you're going to find some people I guarantee you resonate with, because number one, you're already bound by the idea that you both, and all of you, if you're there, you care to a great extent about the food you take in. But also, like your mom said, there's still a lot of things in these health food stores that aren't being stocked, but you can find it at Azure. So they got a cold section, the whole 9 yards.
Not being stocked, or also just isn't available at a lot of these health food stores. Like the one that we have in Texarkana has nothing fresh. It's a health food store, meaning like it's the healthy alternative. Like they've got like clean local meat, they have that, but then as far as everything else, like half the store is like a supplement kind of store, which I would say most of the supplements that they're selling is crap, not intentionally, they just don't know. And then the other half of the store is like just the healthy alternative to something like Oreos, or a healthier alternative to something like Oreos, or like a bunch of like processed stuff. Now Azure you can buy freeze, like fresh produce from there. Like Emily, I think my wife Emily last Azure Standard pickup, I think she ordered like 4 or 5 different spaghetti squash, which she loves spaghetti squash, and she's really using it to just save the seeds for future spaghetti squash plants in the future. But
Yeah,
you can get fresh produce from there too.
Yeah. All right. So I'm not gonna belabor that, folks. I did want to announce that they are a new sponsor for this show. And like I said, Food for Health 15 will get you 15% off for any new customers out there, folks. I'm telling you, you're going to want to sign up. This is the only way. And I'm not trying to, I ain't going in the Sam's Club no more, man. They're tracking and tracing everybody coming in and out of that place. I don't have to worry about that at the Azure drop. And plus, I know I'm getting the clean stuff. Not some folks, if you only knew what they were allowed to call organic today, I mean, it'll blow your mind. Maybe we'll do a show about that. Anyway, we're going to hop right into it. All right. So farm news. But before we get there, Steve hit on something that was Steve Hall, my buddy Steve Hall. He says something here that, well, Steve always says something of value, and he's a silver bug like I am. The silver price is tracking the pace of our collapse. And I don't think you could have said that more succinctly. It's up to, last I checked, I mean, it could have obviously changed. I think it was $62. Last time I bought silver, it was 23, and it wasn't that long ago, maybe a year.
Yeah.
It was
long ago at all.
No, it wasn't long at all. And here we are, we're at 62. And folks, this is all the more reason this kind of puts an exclamation point on what we were just talking about a moment ago. You better be thinking about some alternatives. If you want to go down to your local health food store and you trust them, knock yourself out. Farmer's market or local farmer, man, those are great sources. But I'll tell you what, whoa, Andy said 63.85. Oh, snap.
I tripled my investment.
Yeah, just like that. See, there's a point though. Here's where it's a double-edged sword. So people like us, those of us who understand the value of precious metals, you're going to celebrate to a point. And when I say to a point, now think about the world you might be living in if silver's $1,000 an ounce, or if silver's $200 an ounce. It is a correlation, just like Steve said right there very succinctly. That is a measure of where you are right now. It's not the price of silver going up. It's your dollar being worth nothing. And oh my goodness, man, I can't even believe I forgot that one. Think about, add this, and this is probably what's happened, folks. The show isn't about this, but I'd be derelict to not tell you about this, because some of you may not know, because I guarantee the mainstream prostitutes on Fox News and MSNBC ain't covering it. So the Fed is buying, and I'm sure Trump initiated this, the Fed is buying $40 billion a month of U.S. treasuries. You know why? Because there ain't a country on the planet that wants them. What does that tell you? What does that tell you right there? It means inflation's going to go even higher. So folks, you better get your house in order. I'm not saying this to be a jerk. Steve, let me know if you see it differently in the comment section, but y'all tell me if I'm out of my mind. If you got your own Fed buying, the Federal Reserve, which by the way, ain't federal and it ain't no reserve, $40 billion a month. And they didn't give a timeline for how long. $40 billion a month of U.S. treasuries. That's because not a single country on this earth wants them. Mic drop right there, folks. So that's why you're probably going to see, they may play games. Silver may go down a little bit. It may go up or whatever. Y'all can go ahead and trust Bitcoin. You can trust whatever you think is good for you. Look, man, if you don't touch it, where I live, if you don't touch it, you don't have nothing. So whether it's in your bank account, whatever the case may be, probably the world's going to be a scary place by the spring is what Steve says. Yeah, and I'm right there with you, man. I'm totally right there. Now, I'm wrong on some of these predictions that I called before, but there's a couple of them where I've been absolutely correct. Maybe 50-50 on all of this. But anyway, let me just jump right into the other thing. I didn't mean to go sideways here, but I saw Steve's comment. And I was like, man, I would be doing everybody in this audience a disservice if I didn't talk about this, at least for a little bit. And there's a lot more I could say about it, but I'll just leave it right there for now. Anyway, we'll talk about some things that might actually help you. So we processed the sheep last night. T and Amber came over from Mountain Readiness, and we had some other business to handle as well. But anyway, they were processing a sheep that they could take home. And it was a blessing to us also because we had a mom over here who wasn't no good. And every time she's produced anything, man, they wind up being bottle babies. Folks, I can't have it. And neither can you. If you're one of those people out there that is, if you're going to keep a sheep around, even though you know she done did you wrong, wait, hold on, man. This is not sounding good. Something like that could be so easily misunderstood, especially here in the mountains, man.
Depends on which state you're in.
Yeah.
It's seen differently.
Yeah, well, this is North Carolina, man. I mean, somebody could be think I'm stuffing them feet in the boots or something, man. Who even knows? But hey, ain't doing that kind of, well, look, we don't roll that way around here. But the point being, whenever an animal, particularly like in this case of you, it could be a cow, it could be anything. When they do you wrong, like Greg Judy says, man, you never give them a second shot. Well, this one did us wrong the last time. And she produced young that just weren't awesome. So in the freezer, you're going to go. And that's how we got to roll, folks. If you don't do that stuff, son, what's going to happen?
You're going to have problems. I mean, it's just going to cost you money in time and effort and energy and all that stuff. You're just going to have, you're going to have bad genetics pushed in your flock, which is going to perpetuate the issue. And then it's something you're going to constantly have to deal with. And you don't want that. You want a low maintenance flock. You want something that you already have to move them every day. You've just doubled the amount of time you have to spend every day. If you have to catch it, if you have to put it on the ground and then treat the hooves, and if you have to constantly do that, then you're cutting into your overall yield.
And you're cutting into your profit in a big way, which to a certain extent tangentially is part of your yield, but depending on how you look at it. But the point being, with a lot of these things, so many of us turn our farms into petting zoos because you can't get rid of these animals. Folks, this is a business. This is a business. And if you're not out here, you know the motto at this farm, get loose or get lost. I'm not mean when I do this. These animals, even if they go in the freezer, believe me, they don't even know it's coming. They have no idea that it's coming, and they only have one bad day, and they don't even know it's happening. So we went out there, dispatched that animal. They already knew how to process larger animals. They just wanted to see a more, like I said, we had other business to handle as well. So it just made sense. We're getting rid of one that needs to go in the freezer anyway. And at the same time, you know, they're taking home what I think is the best meat around. So, you know, they processed it, did what they had to do, and they took it home. So yeah, good for them. And then honestly, there's also things you can do where, I was running a little bit low on chicken. So they brought over some chicken for me. So it's a win-win, folks. And these are the kinds of relationships all of us need to be making. So if you can find them, if you're growing something and your neighbor's growing something different, see if there's a way you can make a trade on this. You can do a work trade. There's so many different ways around it. And folks, based on what we talked about, and Andy put a comment on the screen a minute ago.
About the silver?
Yeah, he said you used to be able to go to the bank and swap $20 silver dollar for $20 in cash. Yeah, I remember those days. I remember, you know, collecting silver dollars when I was a kid. I remember all these things, man. And those days are long gone. So folks, back to the previous point I was just making, if you are not, in light of everything going on right now, if you are not putting your health, first of all, putting the Lord at the top of your list, number one, because if your soul isn't prepared, forget about everything else. So get your life squared away there, and then worry about your health, and then worry about how you're putting them groceries on the table when this stuff goes through the roof, because it's probably about to. I ain't saying it's going to happen tomorrow, but when you got the Fed doing that kind of buying, it guarantees inflation. And these fools are going to get on TV and tell everybody out there, well, we don't know where the inflation's coming from. Or they're going to lie like they did over Thanksgiving and tell you, there's no inflation. This is the cheapest turkey dinner you ever had. Okay, where did you get this turkey dinner? I'd like to know that, because I was in there looking, and you know what? I bet we're going to find out later on that some of these things were subsidized to lower the price on the shelf. But anyway, we had, check this out, son. And I did a short on this a little yesterday, as a matter of fact. I was so aggravated I couldn't see straight. Yesterday was supposed to be a crystal clear blue day, according to I wonder if anybody else in the chat has had this same issue. Crystal clear blue, what it was supposed to be. And believe it or not, it started off that way when the sun rose. Or I get up at EENT, early, or BMNT, before morning nautical twilight. So I'm up long before that sun's over the horizon. Anyway, I can look out there. There's enough light for me to tell what, you know, hey, it looks like it's going to be clear. By the time we got outside, They turned it all around. And like I said, this is the thing that I even took a screenshot on my phone. Here's what they've been doing. And I wonder if anybody else has had the same phenomenon. You look at, let's say, the 5-day forecast on your phone. Okay. And then let's say it's going to be a blue day. As you approach that blue day, now it's no longer blue. They're going to say it's partly cloudy. And then the day of, lo and behold, that morning, they come out with the planes and they're, son, you wouldn't even believe the chemtrails they were making in the sky yesterday.
They do the same thing here.
It was
Same thing
almost-
here.
Yeah, I mean, they were almost doing 90-degree turns. I know it's not, I mean, I'm speaking figuratively here, but they were sitting here. And then sure enough, woke up this morning, got a couple of inches or an inch of snow out there, and it don't even look like snow, man. I know trust me, I've seen snow in Alaska, Oklahoma, Texas, Nebraska, Kansas, Pennsylvania, you name it. I've seen snow, Massachusetts, you name it. I've seen snow there. I've never seen snow like this, man. It was like the weirdest looking. I should have burned some to see what odor it gave off, but I was worried about breathing this stuff in. Anyway, folks, we got to wake up. I put out a short being aggravated about it. So, you know, as well as I do, you can look at the metrics on these shorts and find out, you know, who's watching, whatever. Yeah, blowing up. Absolutely. 100%. And then how about this? All of a sudden, every time I put up something, the powers that shouldn't be at YouTube don't like, they'll unsubscribe 10 to 20 people right off the bat. And it keeps happening. Guess what? Jimmy cracked corn, and I don't care. Jimmy could be smoking crack, and I still don't care because I'm going to keep talking and speaking up about this stuff because I'm sick of it. And I think everybody else needs to stand up and start speaking out as well. Whether you got a platform or not, you know what? You got people you know, you got a family. And don't give me this, well, what can I do about it? Well, okay, for all you guys out there that say this garbage, you can't do nothing about that football game that you know everybody's position. You know what their number is. You're even wearing a jersey of another man on your body.
That's gay.
Gay. Yep.
Fake and gay.
It's like he owns you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're wearing a jersey of another man on your body, and you can't do anything about that football game, but you know every stat. So don't give me this garbage. What can I do about it? You can go out there and tell everybody. You can educate your kids, your family. So what? They laugh at you. Okay, you got the truth on your side, Bubba. So what are you going to do about it? All right. So one more thing, and then I'll pass it off to William. Actually, a couple more things. I'll be quick.
You could.
We're feeding hay right now. They're at a spot in the woods where we've trying to open it up for silvopasture. And this is one of those areas where I'm feeding hay. That's where the sheep are right now. Other things I'm doing today, screwed up and didn't get all the wood before it started to rain and chemtrail snow all top of it. So, got some of it drying out right now. Just stupid on my part. And then finally, yesterday, your mom decided to make it. I didn't realize sourdough could be used in so many different ways. She made a sourdough on cornbread, which is absolutely fantastic and zero reaction from me. Believe me, if it had glyphosate in it, I'd know about it. There's another reason to get Azure. And then here's the other thing. She made these sourdough. Son, you know my favorite cookies are, right?
Yeah, those pecan sandies.
Or shortbread. Yeah, something like that. She made them out of sourdough. She made sourdough cookies, man. I was like, I don't know, man. Let's give this a shot. I like them better than the regular ones. So, she knocked out another winner, y'all. So she's got it all, man. She knows how to lay it down in that kitchen, boy.
Yeah. Yeah, she does. Yeah. Okay. I disagree with calling those things cookies. They're more like biscuits. That's what they are. They're biscuits, not cookies.
Man, they ain't biscuits unless you got an English accent, son.
They're off the hook. I don't disagree that they're amazing. They're just not cookies. They're biscuits. Those shortbread pecan biscuits. Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, so let's kick it on over to you, son.
So this week we live in an old house. I think it was built in like the 50s or 60s or something like that. And the code for the number of outlets and number of circuits you need in a house were not the same then as they are now. So I had to go ahead and add a bunch of or a couple of new outlets in the house. Was going to run some home runs, but the price of wire is insane. I think just for like a 15-foot roll of 12-2 was like close to $50. It was like 40, something like that. Like it was expensive. And then I went to Texarkana to that best used appliance place to try to buy a freezer, like a big, like deep freeze, a deep, big chest freezer. And I go in the store and I'm looking and I found exactly the one I wanted. It was like a big, deep chest freezer, $400. And typically their stuff is going to be better than anything new that you can buy just because they upgrade the components and everything. But I go in there and then I'm like looking at it and I was like, hey, is this for sale? And they're like, yeah. I was like, is there anything wrong with it? And they said, no, everything's fixed. And I'm looking at it, and around the entire perimeter, nothing is like that seal isn't coming in contact with any part of the perimeter. So I ended up having to go somewhere else and got two smaller freezers. Got those installed, did the little stress test on them because I'm about to fill it up with meat. We're about to process a bunch of sheep, a couple of goats, and then try to bag as many deer as possible, legally possible, and put those in the freezer and just get stocked up on as much meat as possible. So that way we don't have to buy as much meat as we have been buying and everything. Especially given like my job and my, what I do, I'm on the road a lot. So raising animals that need daily movement it's just not in the cards for me. It's not something that I can do at this moment as I'm doing like on-site consultations and whatnot. So Grumpy over at Grumpy Acres, I think they're on YouTube. I'm pretty sure they are. Was trying to sell a bunch of sheep and goats over the summer, and nobody wanted them. So I'm going in and buying them, and we're doing a bunch of processing. And then my buddy Michael, he's in town. He's going to tan all the hides. So he practiced on one cow hide. Now he's going to tan like all the sheep and goat hides and any deer hides that we get and everything. So that'll be fun. But as far as the weather goes, the same exact thing has been happening here. We'll get forecasted a completely blue sky day, no clouds, no, haze or anything like that. And then the morning of the day, we'll get this deep, thick fog, and it'll last till usually it burns off after the beginning of the morning. But this stuff lasts till like 12 or 1, and then we'll get like partial blue skies and everything. Even though it's forecasted to be perfectly blue skies, still keep getting this thick haze that smells like sulfur. That's what it smells like. So that's what's going on here as far as weather.
They're reporting that same thing. I was looking on X, and that's really X is as useless as anything I've ever seen before. I can't even believe they're saying it's a free speech platform, man. It is. They're suppressing the living daylights. You can always, but it's handy because if you want to know what they want you to believe, just go to X. And everybody seems to think that Elon Musk is wonderful and it's a free platform, folks. It is not even close. The people I subscribe to, I don't see, but then they put out there in the front who they want me to see. And I was checking out some folks I know down there in Florida. Man, they're having that same exact phenomenon, son. The guy was recording a video. There it was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and there's this haze. It is so freaking thick. I thought it looked like you was in Boston. Yeah. I mean, I'd never seen anything like it, man. It was so incredibly thick. And he's like, folks, this is 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and nobody cares. Nobody thinks this is abnormal. This is Florida, for crying out loud, man. Yeah. And it was South Florida at that. I mean, he was down in Miami. And he's like, nobody is even raising an eyebrow thinking this is weird. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, it is definitely nuts. Denise says they say it's grapple, which is supposedly soft hail. First time I'd ever seen it was last year. Yeah, they're inventing all kinds of new stuff right now, son. How many different cloud formations do they say we have now?
Somewhere between 15 and 20 or something like that. And the weather lady who was giving the report and everything was like, oh, this one is my favorite. And it's the wavy pattern where it's clearly like next red radio signals that are like adjusting, that are creating this wave pattern in the cloud. She's like, isn't it so pretty? I'm like, no, you dummy.
No. And then another little side tangent. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Yale Ismay. Kay Griggs interview really brings home why everything is fake and gay. We're not saying gay to denigrate gay people. It's gay in that the fact that it's just screwed up in the term. And it's a common term now. I first heard it from people like Stu Peters, but anyway, she brings up that Kay Griggs interview, folks. If you haven't seen that, you really ought to. She talks about, she was married to I think it was a colonel at the time. I'm not going to break it all right here, but just put in, when you get a chance, go to YouTube, put in KAYGRIGGS, and you'll find out exactly why everybody looks up to generals. I never understood this. If a person is a general, let me just tell you something that a lot of you folks that have never been in the military don't know, and those of you that have been do. If you are a field grade officer, you are a politician. You don't get advanced as an officer unless you kiss large quantities of booty. You do not and cannot, because everything is based on what's called an OER, Officer Evaluation Report. And when you become a senior enlisted, it's basically the same way. I think from E6 on, it all comes down to your NCOER. So everybody says, oh, here's General so-and-so. Well, I'd like to know, like, take, for example, General Flynn. Okay. What do you call me, Sergeant Bond? I mean, why do you get to kick? Why are you still general when you're no longer active duty? I don't get it. So I don't lend this courtesy to these other people when they're field grade officers, because they don't know what I know. And a lot of you people do. If you are a senior officer, like I said, you did not ascend to that. And the very best do not get moved up, even not only in the government, not only in the bureaucracies, but even in the military. And Kay Griggs explains, her saying it secondhand, what they have to do at some of the higher echelons to get into these positions. So if you haven't seen that video, it's quite old now, but I know you can find it.
On that topic, my buddy was talking about Sean Ryan and how that's not, like, none of those stories are an accurate representation of what it's like to be in the service or to be in combat or anything like that. What he said is, like, he needs to start interviewing the E4 mafia. It's like,
there you go.
He's like, why did that helicopter crash? And the E4s just like ran out of parts.
Well, that's exactly why when I was still working for KMBZ and I would talk to veterans from time to time, I would never allow officer on the show. I remember I had to reach out to Fort Leavenworth. I never, ever, ever, in the single time I've ever done a broadcast there, I never let an officer on the show, ever, without a doubt, unless he was below the rank of major. If it was captain and below, okay. But once you become a field grade officer and you're wanting to be upwardly bound, I know what you were willing to do it. It's, everybody has this high, look, you're hearing this coming from a former soldier, y'all. So don't say I'm crapping on the military. I'm just telling you, these people that are generals are nothing more than politicians. That's a fact. I'm not saying there aren't some good ones, but I'm saying you shouldn't tilt nickel just because a person says he's a general. Watch that Kay Griggs video and you'll see what I'm talking about. Not sure how I got on that, but I'm glad you brought it up there. And I'm sorry if I don't know how to pronounce your name. Too many vowels up it, or yeah, too many consonants in there. I can't seem to put together. Anyway, Sovereign Health Summit, y'all, that's going to be in Harmony, North Carolina. I know we're ways out there, but you want to be planning ahead, because remember, I said you want to get your spiritual life squared away. You want to make sure you get your health squared away, and you want to make sure you got stuff to eat. You heard William talk a minute ago about buying those freezers and putting meat in it. Folks, this is how you do it. You make handshake deals. You go up there, you help somebody may has, too many animals. Okay, when you have William's skill, you can skin a buck and run a trout line. Okay. And I mean that. I mean, we can live out a Hank Williams Jr. song. And I mean that in the most positive way, because we have trained to do that sort of thing. So anyway, Sovereign Health Summit, when you're worried about getting that health component squared away, we put together the best. We got Barbara O'Neill as the headliner, and we also have the streaming. We're also going to be live streaming this thing as it goes. And I still got to get you folks an answer as to whether or not you can watch it later. I'm almost sure you can, but let me find out for sure. 5% off with TPC, Tango Papa Charlie. That's going to be your discount code for 5% off. Look, y'all, we can't do the sales that everybody else is doing. This thing is already as low as we can possibly make it. We can't go any lower. You find somebody else that can beat our price and what we're bringing to you, I'll go to their festival, but nobody's doing it. I'm not going to say the reasons why. There may be other people out there that put things on, and you know what? Nobody's got circadian health people in there. Nobody's got herbalists. Nobody's put this kind of, because this is one of my big passions out there, nobody's put all these people into one place the way we are right now. Some of these folks you never heard of, but Barbara O'Neill is going to be there, but there's going to be some other people there that are going to absolutely blow your mind. So anyway, go check it out. Go to the website, get your tickets. All right, Redemption Shield, 10% off with promo code PERMA. Look, y'all, when I'm doing this show, okay, I'm surrounded by blue lights from studio lights. Okay, I can't help that right now. But what I can help is to mitigate a lot of these. I'm pulling in all these awesome electrons from the earth because I'm on a grounding mat. So that's why I always say I'm G'd up from the feet up, and that means grounded. So Redemption Shield, 10% off with promo code PERMA. And then finally, EMF Rocks. Folks, all about trying to get rid of any negative things in this environment. My home is my fortress of solitude, okay? Or should be. Well, when you got all these negative things rolling around your home, you got to get rid of them. So EMF Rocks is a good way to do that. 10% off with promo code PERMA. All right, let me jump into the good news here. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time right here. I always say that, and then I wind up doing it. But not today. Okay. Let's see here. International Agency for Research on the Big C. I can't say that word on YouTube. How about it? Sounds the alarm on atrazine, a gender-bending I don't even know if I can say that. Carcinogenic herbicide. Folks, okay. All over the Midwest, if you're one of the people listening in from the Midwest right now, you might want to have that water checked, because I'll bet a buffalo nickel, if you're getting it from the ground, you got atrazine in it. And if you have atrazine in it, you got things you ought to be worried about. You might want to think about some water filters out there, folks. I don't have a brand per se. We did have a girl on, I think in the last podcast, that was talking about the water filters she sells. I don't personally endorse them because, she unwittingly gave everybody a discount code, but I'm not endorsing that because I haven't yet used it. Until I use it, I'll tell you. If you want to go out there and get one from her, that's on you. But until I check it out, I'm not going to put my name on it. But anyway, I would seriously think about a way to distiller, whatever, man. That atrazine's bad stuff. And Alex Jones was made fun of for a long, long time, but it is a gender bender chemical, and this is well known at this point. So, son, you're going to be heading up that Kansas. I hope you're bringing your own water.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You better believe the whole groundwater situation in Kansas is all screwed up. You better be catching it from the sky and then filtering it and then distilling it and then do what Dr. Ely calls the holy water. But yeah, so the way to pronounce that dude's name earlier is it's Dano, not in the lion's den. And he says, oh, I think the only people in the world who can pronounce this last word are people who were in the army, because I can't say sergeant without saying the G. How do you go ahead and say that? How do you say that, Dad?
Sergeant?
Yeah, sergeant.
You're saying sergeant.
Yeah.
I never said it that way. Yeah, they'll say sergeant. And your mom says it that way, and I say sergeant. I can pronounce the G. Well, it ain't like pronouncing the only useless G out there is the one in lasagna. It ain't supposed to be there, man. I don't care what anybody says. That is a worthless G right there, but not the one in sergeant. Yeah, I actually say sergeant, not sergeant. Yeah, they're actually right. And thanks for the $2.22. Bam. All right, so next one, depressive symptoms in women linked to iron deficiency. Okay, as you go out there, this is one of the reasons why William had so many issues with vegans over the years. And this article goes on to say that if women are basically vegan out there and you're eating all this, people think it's a wonderful diet. No, it's the most processed diet you're ever going to eat. Okay. And apparently microbe lives don't matter, because they'll eat the ones that are what's all over everything you eat. There's microbes everywhere. It's in everything.
Or plant lives don't matter. You mean it's perfectly fine. Like killing something like in the most humane way possible is wrong, but I can go and mutilate a living thing, remove its genitalia, cook it and eat it, and then chop it all up and throw it in the compost. That's perfectly fine. But humanely processing an animal, shooting it in the head so it instantly dies, and then slitting its throat so it bleeds out, that's wrong. But doing this to plants is perfectly fine.
Yeah, plant lives matter, man. Black locusts matter.
Yeah, but the issues with the vegans, it's always it was especially at at Jeff Lawton's farm. Not saying like Jeff Lawton called out like the vegan diet being silly from the get go. He's like, nowhere in like nature do you see anything being vegan. It's like you have a lot of animals and you have a lot of plants. You should probably eat both. Like that was his opinion and everything. But there were a lot of vegans that went to that farm, and they were the biggest issues on that farm. They were the biggest complainers. They were the biggest. They always had an issue with whatever you were doing. They always had an issue with it. It was a pain.
Well, that's what this study goes ahead and shows. I mean, that when women do a vegan diet, they're most of them, almost all of them, are iron deficiency or have major iron deficiency, which you're not going to get unless you're eating some kind of. Well, you can get it a number of ways, but one of the chief ways that I like to get it is through some red meat. So,
Yep.
I got lamb, I got lamb, and I got beef, I got beef. So, do with it what you want. But ladies, if you got an attitude or something, you might want to check your iron, your iron levels. All right. So the final one here, prenatal cannabis exposure linked to high risks of ADHD and autism in children, the study finds. This one was curious because I don't know why, but man, some of the health podcasts I've been listening to, they've spent a lot of time as of late talking about all of you people out there, you Hooter bandits that are probably doing a little puff give while you're listening to this right now. I don't know why so many podcasts are talking about this as of late, but I do notice patterns. And a lot of them were talking about all these negative contraindications that people are having with this weed that they're smoking now, and how if you are young and messing with this stuff that they got right now, no way resembles that plant at all. You are rewiring the brain of a child, and you're just I mean, there's a reason they call you a dope. Okay, so if you're smoking this stuff, it ain't doing a whole lot for your ambition out there.
I wonder if they're like testing. I wonder if they're all calling it the same thing, or if they're testing like the difference between stuff like that what Callie Blackwell uses.
Yeah,
Like the stuff that she grows and she uses and makes and all that type of stuff. I wonder if they're testing the difference between that versus what's being chemically sprayed grown it by the cartels and national or public parks and stuff like that. I wonder if they're like looking at it, because if you look at like wheat, like if you look at einkorn wheat that's not been sprayed, that's actually organic and stuff like that, you have a totally different response to that than you do wheat that's like coming from the grocery store that's been sprayed, that's been genetically altered, things like that.
Well, I use Ness's hemp every day. I mean, they don't make that distinction in here. The main thing that they're pointing out in this article is that there does seem to be a high link between ADHD and autism in these kids with these moms that are doing a little puff give, and it seems to be it seems high enough to where it's unmistakable when you get down to I can't go through all of this article, but that's basically what they get down to brass tacks on in this thing. Yeah. So the bottom line is, man, if anything is changing your consciousness, you might want to rethink about how you're using it. Look, man, y'all do what you got to do, but I'm saying if you're a mom, just like you wouldn't be going out there drinking alcohol, or at least you shouldn't be if you're pregnant, maybe you ought not to be doing a little puff give while you're pregnant. I mean,
or even caffeine.
What's that?
Or even caffeine while you're pregnant. I mean, you should just be conscious of everything that you're taking in while pregnant for sure.
Yeah, and now I'm having to refocus even on things like caffeine. I'm having to refocus my my attention on that as well, because you know what, man, I mean, I'll be open and frank with everybody here. Look, I'm trying to eat everything that grows around me, but there ain't no coffee trees growing up in here. Okay. So I'm asking myself, okay, maybe I need to get rid of this coffee, because when I do everything else right, my reaction to caffeine is not like a lot of other folks. It really isn't. I mean, I'm eating as local, folks. I wasn't kidding when I said I'm eating as local as possible. I mean, if it didn't grow in this zip code, by and large, I'm not eating it. And I'm not saying all the times. I'm not saying you can't go out to eat with friends or whatever, have a pizza or whatever. But I'm saying the Pareto principle, okay? In my case, maybe 80 to 90% of the time, I'm eating the stuff that was produced right here in this zip code, all the way down to the fat that I consume. I mean, I'm that serious about it because there's some things I'm trying to test here. And, yeah, when you get down to brass tacks on all this stuff, I'm even asking, okay, hey man, coffee ain't growing here. Boy, that is one thing I ain't gonna lie, I don't want to give up, but I think I'm gonna have to go ahead and make that plunge and give it up because there ain't no coffee growing in this zip code. So
You know, an awesome alternative to caffeine that I've kind of recently found:
what's that?
20 grams of creatine. Take 20 grams of creatine, and uh, it seems better than caffeine without the jitters or without the anxiety or anything like that. 20 grams of creatine.
Well, that's something else I'm gonna have to look into. I'm barely into a study on creatine, but I'll let you know what I find out. Because it all depends on, number one, all creatine monohydrate ain't exactly the same.
Yeah.
So if I'm using anything, y'all, you better believe it came from somebody who's producing the very best. And when you get the very best, you can't be getting that stuff at GNC. I wouldn't buy anything out of GNC. I definitely wouldn't buy anything out of GNC. So yeah, Denise has to bounce. Good night to Renewed Homestead. Go check them out. Anyway, man, I hope a cow didn't get out or something like that. So anyway, that's going to do it for the good news right there. We don't have anything from Eric, but I do want to say my Chronic Silver. Like I said, I can't say that without thinking of a Snoop Dogg album or something. That I was like, he called it my Chronic, or what do you call it? The Chronic. I don't know. I didn't listen to any of that crap back in the day. But anyway, every time I think of it, I think of Snoop Dogg of all things. Speaking of talking about weed, I guess maybe that's what brought it up. Anyway, my Chronic Silver. Can't tell you what it does on here because guess what? They're going to pull that feed. But folks, I use it every day. I mean, you can use it prophylactically, and this stuff is the cat's meow. Jeff Adam was on the show a little while ago. He is the proprietary of my Chronic Silver Inc. And folks, you might want to go check them out. Can't wait till they come out with that deodorant. I'll be the first one in line for it. I hope it's a roll-on or something like that. But man, I'd love to be able to, man, there's nothing more pimpish than having silver deodorant.
I knew that's what you were going to say.
There is nothing more pimpified than having silver deodorant. So I want to be the first. I told him, hey man, when this stuff comes off the line, you call me up, bro. I will buy some.
Makes my armpits twinkle.
Yeah. Yeah, sprinkle a little diamond dust in there, make my armpits twinkle. Anyway, 10% off with promo code PERMA. But no, right now, the stuff I'm using is magnesium based, which is great because most of us are magnesium deficient anyway. So, man, if I can get some kind of silver, maybe you could slip some magnesium in there too. Who knows? Anyway, my Chronic Silver, 10% off with promo code PERMA. All right. So what you going to do? I got a pocket constitution and my homeboys do too. And had nothing to do with the show at all. So I'm going to jump right into, son, I guess you came up with 5 and I've come up with 5 as well. So I wanted to talk about the 10 homesteading myths that are costing you real money. And I mean, costing you real money. Some of you in a very big way. And, okay, somebody says Dr. Dre, the Chronic album. Okay.
Yeah, you set Fed Up off. He's just
Yeah, Fed Up is on it, boy. He says have a deodorant hanging from a chain. Bro, you don't know what you started right there, man. I'm gonna get like a dog chain or something and just have a big thing of some My Chronic Silver deodorant hanging on it. Yeah, I can't wait for that one. Yeah, great idea, man. I might have to do that. All right, so check this out. There's a lot of people in the sound of my voice right now. You are definitely into growing your own food. You're thinking about it. Maybe you are. Maybe you've had some success. Maybe you haven't had some, but we've been at it a very, very long time. And I wanted to, if you'll notice a pattern as of some of the shows that we've done as late, I wanted to give you action steps for a lot of these things that we're talking about because we are getting down to brass tacks. Like we said, $63 and change right now on silver. Folks, this is not a wonder. I mean, yeah, looks great for my pocketbook and the other silver bugs out there. But what this is going to mean, especially with the government playing games with the Fed buying 40 billion a month in U.S. Treasuries, man, you know that things are going to be costing more. So it's more consequential when you make a mistake, especially one that you didn't have to. That's why I wanted to talk about the homesteading myths that are costing you money. Now, I'm going to come right out swinging right off the gate. Everybody thinks This is a big one here, and it's a frustrating one for me. So, son, I hope you got some overflow. So if we hit the same one, you got, because I've done the same. I actually came
I
up
got
with
10.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So everybody seems to not everybody, but so many people seem to think that you need expensive infrastructure before you can start. Now, if you go back and read Greg Judy's first or second book, I don't recall which one, he uses the example of this kid who was just getting into the farm space. And the first thing he did, he went out, bought a piece of land. And the first thing he did, what do you think he did, son? What was the next thing he bought?
Bought a tractor.
Brand new tractor.
4-wheeler. Yeah.
Brand new truck, brand new tractor. And Greg says, why did you buy all that stuff? You don't need any of it. And folks, I can't even tell you how many times I've seen the very same thing. People buying tractors in places they can't even use them. Like, I live in a place where a tractor would do me zero good. Now, side-by-side would be a big help, but I don't have side-by-side money. I mean, I'm not going to finance anything, man. Either I got the money or I don't. If I don't have the money straight up to pay it out, and right now they want a king's ransom for it, and I ain't paying full price for nothing. Until I can get one on the discount rack that works good, I guess I just won't have one. I'll just be using these BMWs, and that's boots made for walking. That's how I'll be doing things around here. And honestly, it's good exercise anyway. So people seem to think they need barns, greenhouses, tractors, $10,000 solar setup on your house before they even plant a single seed. I mean, the truth is, start with the systems, not the stuff. You would be better off spending money to pay William to come out and do a consultation for you than you would buying all this stuff that you may not need. Everybody, now, one thing like T from Mountain Readiness brought up when he was over here, certain things you can't make yourself. Like, you're not going to go out there and make some woven wire fence if that's what you want. Okay? Does it make sense to have? Yeah, it does. If for no other place than if you live in a place like William is right now, everybody just lets their dogs run free.
Yeah.
I for the life of me don't understand it. Nobody contains their animals. It's one of the biggest aggravations of my life because I contain mine. And if he gets out, well, it's not a habitual thing, but it's one of my biggest things out there. So there's some things you do want to spend money on, some things you don't. Remember, you don't need expensive infrastructure. You need a good plan. You need a really good plan. And we kind of talked about that last week. So, son, I'll pass it over to you.
So on the inverse of that also, I guess it's not the inverse of that, but in conjunction with that, there's a lot of people who think that they're going to save money by DIYing everything. Like they're going to build all their own structures. They're going to build all their own stuff. Well, if you've never done it before, if you don't have a construction background, or if you're not handy with tools and you just kind of hobble something together, it's going to fall apart. You're going to have to do it again. It's going to fall apart, and then you have to do it again. And when you, in the long run, would have saved money to hire somebody to do that for you. Like when it comes to, like, I would say the biggest thing that I noticed, chicken coops. Like, you can buy some pretty crappy chicken coops. Like if you go to Tractor Supply and get that kit chicken coop, it's not big enough. It's not mobile. You can't get in there very well, anything like that. But you can go to the back of Home Depot and you can hire like 2 to 3 Mexicans to come out there and build you a chicken coop. And it's going to be the best chicken coop, especially if it's stationary, or give them the plans to, can't stand the guy, but he came up with an awesome plan. The Chickshaw, Justin Rhodes and that Chickshaw, have them come out, get the materials, have them build it for you. Especially if you're not handy with material or with building things, structures and implements that you're going to have to move frequently need to be built well. Otherwise, they're just going to be a complete nightmare. Even stationary like infrastructure, it needs to be built well. So that way you don't have to mess with it again. If it's a structure you have to rebuild every couple of years, you're not saving any money, and you're not saving any money doing it yourself. Just wait, take the time to save up the money if you need to, and then have it built the correct way. Because there's a lot, like if you're thinking like, all right, how hard is it to slap together like couple of 1x2s and then call it good? Well, that time we built those Salatin style chicken tractors with your brother, who was a fantastic carpenter, he instantly, just by being in that trade, instantly knew how to improve that to make it lighter and stronger. So yeah, hire somebody to build like the tough infrastructure that you don't have full confidence in building, and you're going to save your money. You save yourself money in the long run.
Son,
on to you, Dad.
Huh? Was that your number one?
Well, yeah, that was my number one.
You
What's
just
wrong
said
with
the
that?
same thing I said.
No, not really. I piggybacked off of it. It was like
Oh,
because
okay.
people want to don't DIY. Mine was don't DIY everything
Okay.
if
Okay.
you don't have the. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. I thought you were
I
just
can go again.
no,
I
no. I
got
thought you were
more.
just ripping on mine. No, I thought you were just adding to what I had to say. Okay, I didn't realize you were doing the inverse. I get it now.
Yeah.
So my next one: buying more animals means more productivity, folks. I can't even begin to tell you how this is like. This is one of the biggest Achilles heel for so many people that are getting started in this. Folks generally think the more animals, more food. Instead, to get more mud, more feed bills, and more chaos because you don't know what you're doing. And you start off with too many animals at once. Look, start with the chicken, start with the rabbit, start with one thing, master that one thing, then move on to another system, and then find out how it integrates into the rest. I love chickens because they're an end user to a lot of other things out there. Because once you understand chickens, while you're working on that chickens, you know what would be a pretty good thing for you to learn at the same time would be composting. A man, we talked about it last time, Jackson Newton came up with this book, Compost Your Way to Freedom, okay? So, and then William has tutorials. I got them right here on YouTube. While you're working with chickens, figure out how to become a master at composting because they go hand in hand. And then once you master that, maybe then you might want to think about, okay, pigs are easier to manage than chickens, but most people don't know that. Maybe that makes sense for you. Maybe it doesn't. So maybe you go into sheep. You don't want to get into cows just yet. You take one thing at a time, but folks, the number one thing, and William would know better than me because he is a consultant, but the number one Achilles heel for most people that are getting into this thing, and it is bleeding them dry. Look, if you were feeding hay at the end of summer, you don't know what you're doing. Okay? If you were feeding hay I'm feeding them hay right now because they're in the forest, but everything around me is stockpiled. What was it last year? I think I had to feed, what was it? I don't know, hay for a week. You ain't making money on a farm if you're feeding hay most of the year. Okay. And Jim Garris talks about how the fact that how is it the people in Texas feed as much hay as the people that are in Minnesota? There's no way it should be that way. No way, no how. And the only reason it's happening is because most of us are not managing our stuff properly. If you right now, like I told you, I just processed a sheep, I'll be processing another one because through the winter months, all these guys that I castrated, they're going to be going into the freezer. Okay. I'm only going to leave them out here because it makes sense. But right when the grass is kicking is when these mamas are going to start having babies. So right at the spring flush, when all this grass is getting green, that's when the mamas are laying the babies on the ground. That's why with sheep, it's best to have them breed in November or December. I mean, folks, it's just how nature works. You're going to save yourself a pile of money in the process, son. I'm sorry, I took too much time, but go ahead.
No, you're good. So wasting parts of your property, not utilizing the edges and the odd shaped spaces on your property. Like if you have an odd shaped space, meaning that it's typically not square or straight lines or anything like that, then you're not utilizing the passive benefits you could get from the edge effect, where the two or three or more media interact in that area. You have an influx of energy entering that particular spot. Perfect example is like a fence line. Like without any intervention from you, every fall that fence line is going to collect leaves, which is free fertility. So by not using the edges on your property and not utilizing the odd shapes on your property and just kind of letting them go fallow, it's not directly costing you money, but it's kind of like indirectly costing you money because that is stuff, those are areas that would save you energy, either time or effort or money directly. Just by utilizing those areas. So think of like the edges that you can use, like where one or two or three different media are interacting. Look for those spots on your piece of property and then try to plant there or try to graze there or things like that. So yeah, not utilizing all the odd shaped parts of your property does cost you money. On to you, Dad.
Yeah. So before I get to mine, Bren Z says pigs eat way more than chickens and cost more to raise than chickens. No, Bren Z, that's not the case. GIA. No, that's not the case if you do it the way we do. it doesn't matter how much those pigs eat because I'm feeding them with waste streams, and we're going to have a guy in here that's also an expert at doing that very same thing. So we've talked about how to do that before. We use organic restaurants. We use, there's so many different ways you can go about it. I mean, I need to do a webinar on this. This is one of the things we need to do a webinar on.
Yeah.
And go into a lot of detail on this sort of thing, on how exactly we source all of this stuff and give you everything, because I'm starting to realize that even in the live performances where I give away things that I ordinarily don't talk about on this podcast, we need to do a webinar, and especially during these times, and teach everybody everything we know about how we raise our pigs and chickens for absolutely, when I say free, it's 21 cents a pound. And the reason that they even cost that much is because I don't farrow my own pigs. So if I did, it would be very, very free. In fact, I think I can make a pretty good argument that it's actually down to zero. But anyway, you gave me a good idea. We'll have to cover that in the future. But yeah, I can prove to you beyond all doubt that we can raise it doesn't matter what those pigs eat. It ain't costing me anything anyway.
If you do it the conventional route,
yes.
Yeah, 100% if you do it the conventional route. But
I don't do anything like anybody else, and neither does William. So I don't care what everybody else does out there. I have a natural compulsion to do the very opposite of what everybody else is doing. And y'all, it works pretty well.
But also,
freezer full of meat that I didn't pay money for.
Sean and Beth Doherty, they kind of put a stamp on, like, pigs costing more than, especially if you have a dairy cow. They kind of ruin the whole notion of like pigs having to cost more than anything else. And just on the face of it, pigs and chickens are omnivores, yes. Meaning they have a wider variety of food that they can and can't eat, or that they can eat. So like that should mean it's easier to feed them, especially if you have pigs and chickens and you process both. You can feed the excess or the stuff that you don't eat to the other system. Like the pigs I feed them everything but pork. The chickens I feed them everything but chicken. Whatever they don't eat either gets composted directly on the ground or in a variation of the chicken tractor on steroid system. So it still doesn't go to waste. Sorry, go ahead.
Number 3 is all compost is good compost. I kind of hit on this a couple of times before. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on here, but look, this is a quick way to drain your wallet. I mean that, folks. When we go out there, we've tested everything in bags, everything from all these so-called great compost places, and all of it is junk. There is not one of them, not one. We have not found a single one that was worth 2 dead flies. In fact, the flies would be worth more.
Yeah.
You buy that stuff in the bag, y'all, you're just setting yourself backwards. And these days, people have had, oh man, there was so many people on YouTube doing videos about, buying that bag soil, and then you wind up paying the piper for it. We even did a video. We got into a rush one year and then, had to go out here and play serious catch up trying to fix this soil. So yeah, that's one. All compost is not good compost. That's why we teach you how to make it, because nobody can make a better compost. You can't buy a better compost for your land than the stuff you make. So over to you, son.
So this one is a thought process. Is that design can wait? We need to hurry up and get stuff in the ground. That thought process there will cost you. And if you kind of expand it a little bit and you're like, we need to hurry up and get animals, or we need to hurry up and get stuff in the ground. That whole thought process will cost you one of the, it's going to be one of the biggest money sinks on your property. Is always, always, always. If you're in a rush to do something, or if you're doing something, it's usually a fear-based thought process. If you have a fear-based thought process on your property, you're going to be inefficient. You're going to do everything inefficiently. The actual implementation of everything is going to be super inefficient. And then you're going to just be throwing money at a problem that money doesn't fix. Money doesn't fix design issues. Money doesn't fix biology issues. Money doesn't fix any of these things. And it's something that you typically don't realize until years and years later, when you start realizing oh crap, I'm getting a worse and worse yields every single year, even though I'm spending more and more money on these different soil amendments or on these different crutches that you may have. So yeah, Dan, not in the lion den, said money doesn't fix stupid.
Got that right.
And it's not that it's stupid. I do want to say this. It's not that it's stupid. Most people didn't grow up in this like I did. Most of the time, it's just ignorance. but it's solvable. And I don't mean that in like an offensive way. It's just you don't know yet. You don't know what you don't know yet until you have the issue, and then you're like, crap, I got to fix this issue, and then you start looking into stuff. Go ahead, Dad.
Here's one that will turn more people around from homesteading and farming than anything, and that's thinking that a bigger garden means more food. If you don't know what you're doing, you go put in a 1 acre garden and you think you're going to be able to manage that thing and you've never really done it before, you are in for some problems, nephew. Now, if you garden the way I do, because I'm not into weed pulling, I ain't pulling no weeds. All I do is, and this is more than I can get into right now, you think, what do you mean you don't pull weeds? I don't pull weeds. I put my new garden over the old garden, just like a new forest grows up out of an old forest. That's how I treat my garden. I just basically sheet mulch over it. I'm building soil at record pace, and it's not requiring a whole lot out of me. So I would rather go out there and garden that way. But what I'm getting at with this one is people get burnout because they don't know what they don't know. And I guess to a certain extent, it ties into what you just said there a moment ago. Bigger garden doesn't mean more food. In many ways, it might mean a lot more pest issues because you don't yet know what you're doing. Start small, gain a little bit of ground, and then later on, when you feel competent at that thing, just like we were talking about with the animals, start with one system. I'm not saying just grow one type of whatever out there. You are going, in some cases, to have massive failures. You're going to not know what you're doing, and you're going to have soil issues, and guess what? The bugs are going to come in. They're going to wipe your stuff out. Now, unless you're going to be foolish about it and do what my brother would do, which is put 7 dust on it, now you just ruined everything. Okay, you just need to call that one a loss. You just need to call that a loss, sheet mulch it. And well, I'm not going to, you could use, oh my goodness, man. You could be using soil saviors. You could be using your compost. You could be doing all kinds of things out there. But man, sometimes you're just going to have a total loss. Don't feel compelled to go out there and do the wrong thing, which is put 7 dust or some other kind of idiotic chemical out there. The only reason it got attacked is because your soil ain't on point. That's why I'm saying everybody needs to become a compost expert. Back to you.
So this one was actually I just thought of this based off FedUp's question. How do y'all feel about Stark Bros trees, waste of money, or hood investment? I know you mean good investment, but just given your rap lyrics earlier, hood investment makes sense.
Right.
But so I would say no matter what online bare root nursery you're using, I like Stark Bros. I like Tie Nursery. I really like Leg Creek Nursery down in Texas, LEGG Creek Nursery. They have the biggest root systems that they sell on, they're the ones that send the biggest root systems on bare root trees. Most of these nurseries are going to have a year guarantee. And if you plant them the way that like Dad and I both showed in previous videos, then if they're going to die, it's going to happen in that first year. So you can get, your replacement with either the same thing or something else. Now, I would say you're never going to be wrong planting or buying a bare root tree and then planting it in the correct season, which is during the dormant season. Now, where you do waste money is going to Home Depot or going to Lowe's and buying full price potted plants or full price potted perennials, I'll say. Like annuals and stuff like that. If you're just getting started, do your thing. But the potted trees and stuff like that, I can buy a bare root tree anywhere between $10 to $25, depending on how old the tree is. And I would suggest buying the youngest tree possible. Don't buy that 6 to 8 year bare root tree. Just buy the 1 to 2 year or 6 month to 1 year bare root tree. Buy the smallest one possible. You can get one for about $10 to $25, something around those lines, compared to the $40 to $80 potted tree you're going to get at Lowe's. I can buy almost 4 trees for the same price that I'm going to buy a potted tree for at a local nursery, at Lowe's, at whatever it is. Avoid potted trees if you can all help it, unless it's on like some ridiculous sale. Like, Dad, you've bought like $5 Lowe's and Walmart and Home Depot trees and stuff like that before, and they've done well, but it's because of the amendments you've given afterwards, and they still don't do as well as your bare root tree. Like my 1-year-old bare root tree is going to outcompete a 4-year-old potted tree in a single season. As soon as a single year completes, my bare root tree has caught up and surpassed that potted tree. On to you, Dad.
That's a fact. That's a fact. I agree with every word on that. Okay, my last one is you can't make money homesteading. No, you can't. Not the way everybody else does it. Not the way everybody else is doing it. No, if you're out there, if you think you're going to raise your eggs and you're going to save money, I guarantee you, if you're going out there and you're buying organic food, or even if it's non-organic, you are not 1 cent ahead than what you would pay in the grocery store. Now, you do have the peace of mind of knowing, A, it was grown in your zip code, which that does mean something. And number two, you have the peace of mind of knowing that, hey man, I know how these chickens are treated and all this wonderful stuff, but you're not saving money doing that. Same thing, if you're raising pigs, you didn't really save a whole lot of money, especially if you don't know how to process. This is why we've taught processing classes. And one of the predictions I made last year is that when Trump got in, everybody would go back in the matrix. Well, I was right. And they still I thought they would come back out at this point, but they still haven't. I thought they would come back, considering the inflation. Maybe it's just going to take a little more pain, but everybody's going to be swinging back this way again. No, you can't make money homesteading doing it the way everybody else does with conventional means. All they've done is take big ag and scale it down to a farm. You ain't making money doing that. I'm just going to tell you right now. So you better be coming up with ways, and we've provided a lot in the videos that we've provided before. How do we feed our ruminants essentially for free? Well, stockpile forage is a pretty good way of doing it. I'm doing it right now. Make sure you get animals that are made for your place. Quit with this designer stuff. Don't go out there and get some highfalutin cow because nobody else has it, but it doesn't do well in your area. Okay, get things, harvest. If you're growing your flock of, let's say, sheep or whatever the case may be, don't keep problem animals around. Put them in the freezer. They can't be your best friends. Don't name them. I mean, look, hey, man, this is business, man. I'll take care of you guys. You guys got to take care of me. And if they don't do what they're supposed to, yeah, farming and homesteading can be a money pit, but a lot of people have taken homesteading from the big ag sense, and all you did was scale that down. That's not the way to do it. No, you can't make money doing that. That's why I put it in there. With proper design, like William mentioned a moment ago, the homestead can be a cash flowing efficient machine, because like I said, when I got 8 freezers down here and it's filled with meat that I didn't have to pay for, or some of it I did, to support a local farmer or whatever, but by and large, most of it I didn't have to pay for. I can get it out of these woods. I can get it out of the stuff I raise. You're not going to make money doing it the classic way, folks. And this is why I keep telling everybody, you better start thinking outside the box. It's why I spent so much time talking about Azure from the very beginning, because these mainstream outlets, that's where everybody else goes. That's not where I'm going. All right, back to you, son.
Going off grid in the incorrect order. So whenever people think of like going off grid, they immediately think of like power. They're going to go off grid with power. Power should be closer to the bottom of the list of things you should get off grid. So the first thing you should get off grid, because everything needs it and everything on your property is going to need it, is water. First thing you need to get off grid is water. Start collecting your own rainwater, figuring out how to filter it, how to purify it for human consumption, and then also like what's the minimum amount that you need to do for your animals and for your gardens and things like that. Or ways you can save water within the soil, so that way you don't have to irrigate, or you can irrigate less, things like that. So the first thing you should think about is water. The second thing you should think about how to get off grid is food. And that doesn't mean that you have to grow everything as far as the food goes. Just try to source it locally using means outside of the grid. Walmart is the grid. The grocery store is the grid. Try to find farmers that can supplement or provide what it is you need locally. And this can be done before, let's say you're in that in-between position where you're like, I need to get land to do a homestead. I'm in that in-between phase. Try to source things as locally as you can until you get to the point where you can start growing your own food. And then after both of those are taken care of, then think about electricity. Most of what electricity, for like 99% of what you use electricity for, is all convenience, like lighting, convenience, heating and AC, convenience. Like these are all things that we survived in houses for most of humanity without using electricity, but it's the first thing everybody thinks of whenever it comes to, and then some people are going to think of like, well, what about food preservation and stuff? Freeze dryer. I mean, you can do like, you can obviously use the grid to run your freeze dryer, or even set up a simple solar system to run a freeze dryer, or you can or you can dehydrate. There's multiple ways to preserve food without having to use a freezer and everything. But yeah, electricity should be one of the last things on the list to get off grid, especially when it comes into like comparison to your water and your food. So that's what I got.
All right, so that's gonna do a wrap, man. Hopefully that was a just Jay Will said, yeah, eggflation. That's exactly what we're talking about, folks. That's why I'm saying, unless you start doing things outside the box, it's going to require more elbow grease out of you, no doubt. But most of us, everybody I know in this podcast probably has more time than money. So if that's the situation you're in, I mean, I don't know any of the Rockefellers. I know one billionaire, and that's about it. But I mean, I know some other people that, you know, have money, but outside of that, that ain't the people listening to us right now or hanging out with us, or in many ways can even relate to us in this thing right now. So if you think for a minute that all of this stuff is just going to fall into place and, you know, it'll just come back around, I guess you're not paying attention, because the price of silver that we said from the very outset, that is an open barometer of what exactly your dollar's doing. And you can see the price. I mean, it hasn't gone back down, and it's probably not going to go down, which means your dollar is going to be worth less and less. Folks, we live in perilous times. This is why we're doing these shows like this, to get you to start thinking right now, like, man, okay, so I got these chickens out here. You know what? Billy told me I could do A, B, and C to go ahead and feed them for free. In fact, like I said, we're probably going to wind up in the future doing a webinar and dropping, because every time we've done it, you know, in the show, we got to pretty much condense things to roughly about an hour. But if we spend a couple of hours going through a webinar and giving you all the what for, how to, when you go in there to ask somebody for the food, there's a way to do that. And believe me, I had to figure this process out myself. And there's a way, a protocol in which you can do this to make them say yes. And my success rate at these days, I mean, there's not too many times I give a pitch to where anybody tells me no. In fact, I got so much coming out of my ears, I don't even have to pitch anybody anymore. But you can make them partners. There's also wonderful things that you can do out there. But like I said, we're probably going to have to do something like that in a webinar. Because honestly, here on YouTube, I don't think people can be able to hang around for that long. And plus, we'll be able to put up slides and have a presentation and do all that kind of thing. But stay tuned for that in the future. All right, y'all. I want to thank everybody for coming in today. We're living in shaky ground right now, but there's no reason to fear, especially when you can go out there and just take one more thing, grow it, figure out ways to do it a way that maybe nobody else is doing, a way that you can do it with waste streams, a way that you can make it very, very helpful to you and your family. All right, y'all. I want to thank everybody out there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, stay alert.
Stay alive.
It's rain with roots that run deep. Wisdom from Saul and burn across the dream. Let the ideas unfold. I'm grooving with the truth. Feeling nature's good. Who's got the answers? All we need to do. Listen to the earth, they got us through. Let's see the change, watch the world spin. From the smallest sprout to the harmony begin. In the cycle of life, where the magic's alive.